So my name's Rhiannon Lambert. I'm a registered nutritionist and I have a clinic called the Rhitrition Clinic where I employ a lovely team, and I also work there myself, and we work with lots of clients with different backgrounds. So weight management, sports nutrition, eating disorders, pre and postnatal, intuitive eating, you name it. That's my original kind of starting role, but it's evolved, the Rhitrition business. I now have a podcast called Food for Thought, a book, or several books actually. ReNourish is my first, and there's lots of things in the pipeline on the Rhitrition channel. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome, like a little snippet. We'll delve in now. So Rhiannon, how does somebody become a nutritionist? Because when you're growing up, obviously, for me, I was always like, oh, I want to be on the stage, I want to be a performer, I want to be, and those kinds of things evolve. There's always like a path that everybody traditionally follows. So how did it work for you?
Well, like yourself, I didn't really have much interest in science. I've got to be honest, I was music. I'm a soprano before a nutritionist, and
Amazing.
All I could think of at school is I want to go to drama school, I want to go and do X, Y, Z. But it just didn't pan out that way. I actually won a competition with Classic FM, which was totally amazing considering I had no classical training whatsoever, and my parents are not musical. I entered online, but that changed my life. I had to do a lot of work. So to become a nutritionist, basically, you have to do a degree.
Yeah.
It's at least 3 to 4 years long. So this is a lot of science and investment and learning. And I was a complete underdog when I did it, but I got into it because I was signed to record labels. I was working in the music industry. 2008 happened. Economy went, not going to do this anymore, and kind of what I was doing wasn't popular anymore. Classical crossover, nobody really cared, and I was miserable and low and not nourishing myself and not eating well, and I enrolled in a degree, and the rest is history, really. You become a nutritionist with, it's science. Nutrition is science, and I think that's what I underestimated when I enrolled. I thought it was just, oh yeah, I love to eat, let's learn about vitamins and minerals and food. No, I was doing immunology, pathophysiology, cardiovascular work, lots of different areas of science, which was a lot to get my head around at first.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, of course, because like you say, if you're really into music, you tend to, when you're in school and you find something that you love, you hold on to it and kind of like a little bit push the others aside and neglect them somewhat. So then when you, like you say, you followed that path that you thought you wanted to go on, and actually halfway through thought, do you know what, this is just, I can't do this anymore, this is not what I want to be doing. That must have been quite difficult though, to totally turn it on its head.
Oh, it was, so I'm very fortunate that I still sing in a girl group, a quartet. So we're all classical singers, and I still do I used to before COVID, do the occasional gig. So I kind of managed to keep my foot in with the singing and the passion, but the pressure just kind of fell off after the first year, I'd say, of getting my head around the fact that I'm not going to be this recording artist anymore. I'm not going to be a singer. Once I'd got over that, which was really hard, it's like hitting rock bottom. One minute you've been signed and the next minute you're down at the bottom again, like, what on earth am I doing?
Yeah.
But once I kind of got my head around the fact that I'm enjoying my university degree and I'm doing multiple jobs, and I was still working at the Royal Albert Hall, so I was getting to watch different music, and my friends are still in theatre land at the moment. And yeah, I guess just retraining gave me a new lease of life, a new passion that just sparked. And I haven't looked back, if I'm being honest, since then.
That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So talk about your new career then, your new job, your journey to that. So you had to train for a long time, by the sounds of it, a long time. So how do you then, once you're trained, what's the first step? How do you go about setting up a business?
Oh, I don't even know if I'm the best person to ask this kind of question, because what happened with Rhitrition was totally organic. It's a very strange thing to describe. When I look back, first of all, getting your head around the degrees, you qualify, and somehow you're like, wow, what do I do now? A lot of nutritionists will either go in food industry. That wasn't quite for me. They'll go back in the lab and do research. Do I go and do dietetics, which means becoming a dietitian in a hospital and working with clients in a quite intense environment? You're working with the sick, to try and help them become better. And again, I felt I was more of a motivator than that type of person. I guess that's the performer in me, essentially. So public health was definitely where I was going to go. And I started with getting lots and lots of work experience. Just for everybody that's watching or listening, you don't really get paid much in the world of nutrition. You have to do so much free NHS work experience, volunteering, tons to get enough experience on your CV to be taken seriously by any employer. So I got a role in a cafe in Parsons Green, a gym, and my task was to create the whole cafe. I've never done anything like this before. Create the recipes, do all the pricing, the costing, selling, working profit margins. I was totally out of my depth.
Wow.
But that taught me to learn. It was all hours because gyms are open very early in the morning and they close very late in the evening. So some days you do full days and have this weird time in the middle of the day to do something. And I guess that gave me the experience of recipe development. And that's when I set up my social media page. And back then, there weren't really any qualified nutritionists. There were tons of people talking about fatty diets and all the juice cleanses and things you'll hear about, especially in the music industry, that you should or shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the page kind of started to take off. People wanted to collaborate with me that had really large followings and talk about nutrition. And that got my brand name out there. And before I knew it, I was being approached to do clinics and one-to-ones in the public health sector. And I moved to Harley Street. I got a work experience role. So I was paid £20 a day. I remember it so well. Sit on the office in the reception. And that's as close to being in the clinic as I got. But I got to absorb all the clients going in and out. And eventually I got asked to join the team, and from there one job led to another job, and I took a leap of faith when I had so many clients thinking, I'm just going to do it myself. So I knocked on loads of doors down Harley Street, because that's what you did back then, and said, have you got a room that I can hire that's flexible enough, not that commits you to paying up front, because that's tough. When you've got no money in your pocket and you're like, you have to pay a deposit to the room, that's really hard. So business-wise, it was a big leap of faith, and I would do my clinics in the evenings and I would do my day jobs. I still worked at the Albert Hall every evening in the box office all the weekends to make sure I had guaranteed income. It was just a lot.
Wow, madness.
It's mad. You've got to work hard, that's all I can say.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you really want something to work, it doesn't matter how you do it. You're like, I've just got to do it. And like you say, juggling all those jobs and everything, making sure you could pay a space to rent, making sure that you had all these clients that would stick by you, because a lot of it is selling yourself. And I mean, from that goes back to the theatre thing, doesn't it? You have to be willing to put yourself out there to sometimes get that rejection of, oh no, this is not what I want to do, but also then for people to invest in you and what you do, because a lot of the time, I spoke to someone the other day actually, and she was like, it's selling yourself, and then the product comes after. Like, if people have to invest in you, and if they enjoy talking with you and they trust you somewhat, and they like being in your company, you're already halfway there. That's when you then sell the product.
You've nailed it. And I think that's one of the best things that the music industry in the background gave me, which kind of gave me a leg up above other scientists that were graduating, because I had this experience with people and how to put a smile on your face, and of course, the knowledge is the most important thing, but you have to be able to get that across to someone and have them trust you and build a relationship with your clients. And I've had clients for 4 years, 6 years now that just ongoing that will dip in and out of clinic time, because they know they can trust me. I've seen them from day one. If they've regressed a little bit or they want a little bit of advice that's further, I think just being personable makes something that's difficult in your life more approachable.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said there, with the sciences and things, for a lot of people who've done this for a really long time, they've been so into the hard work and things, that maybe personable element has kind of like lagged behind a little bit. So like you say, because you've had that background in something else, it's so funny, isn't it? It doesn't always have to be, this is the thing that I start out to do and I will continue to do it forever.
Yeah, I mean, I think things happen for a reason. And I think particularly at the time, obviously at the moment with COVID and musicians and changing career paths, I think just to give everybody a little bit of a boost, you don't know how talented you are. It's not just that you can sing or act or dance. You have got a set of skills that so many people do not have. And if you apply that again to something new, or hopefully you can go back to doing what you were doing. Now we've had new announcements, but you've got so much more to give than you realise, would just be what I would say there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that motivation as well is so key to so many jobs, you know, to so many people. So many people don't realize it. You're like, look at yourself, take this time. And I think what you just said there, throughout the lockdown, hopefully lots of people really have, you know, seen that and thought, oh my goodness, we really need to focus on ourselves, because we don't put ourselves in the forefront, do we? We always look after everyone else, and it's like, hello.
Yeah, I know. It's the most important thing, actually. And just, I know we all know, as a performer, you know how to put on a smile, you know how to mask anything you're feeling underneath. And it's actually so important that you talk and you find a way of managing that, because it will creep up on you. It really will. And actually having a bit of time out is such a blessing in disguise in the long run, potentially. I'm trying to put a positive on something that I know has been catastrophically awful. I'm not denying that for so many people, but there are some positives that I hope people can pull. To people that are musicians, they've been at rock bottom. They know what it's like to get no's, to be rejected, to have to face things head on. That's a skill so many just don't have, that resilience.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how important do you think your job is on, like, you know, a daily basis, to look after yourself and your, you know, your well-being, but also what you're putting in your body?
Yeah, hugely, hugely important. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I mean, I've got a 10-month-old now, and I've literally not practiced what I preach for several months when he was born, maybe over half a year. I'm on survival mode, so I get it. Life isn't always perfect. But nutrition plays a huge role in your mood, your risk of illness, how you feel every single day. It plays a role in everything. And when you are hydrated, which is something we all forget, and I know that they bang on about it as a performer as well, especially, but if you're not hydrated, it can also impact your mood, your concentration levels. It can affect how fatigued you feel. If you're not eating enough food, that affects your energy metabolism, and then it can affect your serotonin and your dopamine, your feel-good receptors in the brain. There's your gut-brain axis, your bowel movements, how comfortable you feel every day. If you experience constipation, bloating, poor digestion, then you're probably not doing what's best for your body at the moment, because it doesn't have to be that way. Again, females have menstrual cycles. What you eat can impact your menstrual cycle. I'm overwhelming with information there, but that's a lot. There is a lot food can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, would you say if you change one part of your diet or your health or exercise, would you say if you change one part, you'd be able to see the difference then in the long run, and affecting other elements of yourself?
It's all a bit of a cycle, and of course there's no miracle. Like, this one food is not going to make the difference. It's your overall diet and lifestyle. But of course, how you eat impacts your sleep. How you sleep impacts your motivation, your mood, how you feel, your digestion, which then, as a knock-on effect, impacts perhaps what exercise you do, and then how you feel, which affects how you eat again. And it's like this kind of revolving cycle that never ends. And if you don't have all those different pieces of the pie together, they don't click well. It doesn't make that whole pie. So everything is so closely interlinked that we underestimate how much so sometimes.
And what do you love most about your job? If you could pick one thing, what do you think, you know, every day you count your blessings for this element or this thing that you can do?
I think it's so hard to pick one, because I'm hugely blessed to be able to help change lives is, of course, huge for people you're in the clinic to say that. But also the online following I have now means I have the ability to reach thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people and help them in a split 15-second Insta story or something they'd never been exposed to before. The podcast can brighten someone's mood or change their relationship with food. So I think it's the access I'm grateful for, to be able to do something good. There's nothing more rewarding than doing something for others. It's like, you know, when you want to celebrate something, you don't want to celebrate by yourself and just sit there like a bottle of bubbly and be like, yeah, I got the job, or I got the role. You want other people there with you, because it's fun otherwise. I think as human beings, we're meant to be societal creatures, and we're meant to have connections with others to a degree.
Absolutely. And the thing is, like you said before about social media, you know, a couple of years ago, even just a couple of years ago, we didn't have the access to these kinds of things that we have now. So now, you know, you don't have to just have a Facebook page. You've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, you've got all these different things that people can access. And like you say, literally around the world, you can reach everybody. So people who maybe, like you say, aren't feeling like they're ready to actually access, you know, help in a clinic or something like that, they can just see your stories and they can see, and they can go, do you know what, I could implement that. That's something that I, you know, that doesn't seem scary to me. It's very accessible. And they think, oh, well, you know, actually she's just shown me something there that I think I can do. That doesn't seem that scary to me. And it's making those first steps. And for you, you know, you, like you say, you've just impacted so many different people.
It's got so many positives, and of course I know everybody talks about the negatives, and I'm not denying there are so many negatives to social media as well, depending on what content you choose to consume. I think there's a huge responsibility to people called the content creators, to what they put out there, and then for yourself as an individual to what you choose to consume. Those are crucially important elements to take into account. But the fact that I think even for jobs, and you can now, for instance, I've met some of my VIP clients over Twitter. My first ever Chelsea footballer was because his fiance tweeted, I'm looking for a nutritionist, and I just replied, and then I got the job. So it's crazy how you can be so connected to people you would never have had access to before. It's insane. You know, I remember looking at things when Rhitrition really started growing and getting traction. It's because I would see, it was Twitter before Instagram back then that was really, you know, it was Twitter when I was at uni and Facebook, and then Insta came along. But the hashtag, I think it was journo request, I followed it on Twitter, and I would reply to these journo requests, and I saw some rubbish, you know, like one Daily Mail journalist was saying, oh, an avocado is the same as eating a Mars bar. And I replied being like, actually, it's not. And she goes, well, would you like to comment on this? And I was like, yeah. And then I would that journalist go to every single time she did the feature. And I would be in the Daily Mail nearly every other day. Then that would go to the Sun. Then that would go to another newspaper. And before you know it, your name is on the go-to. And that's free work, but that gains exposure to a business. Social media is the best business tool. It's free, you don't have to pay anything, and it can get you out there.
Yeah, and also it gets you that experience that, you know, for a lot of people in a lot of jobs, you're like, you know, once you graduate, it's like, right, well, I've got the training, but now where do I get the experience? Because I don't know what to do from here, you know?
I mean, everyone sees it. I think that's something that's so interesting is when I'm hiring staff now, even though I'm hiring registered dietitians and nutritionists or someone to work on the admin team, I check their social media. And I am sure, regardless what job role, if you're on stage, if you're in a hospital, if you're working in schools, people check your social media. It's just the way you do it now.
Absolutely. It is, like you say, used well. It is, you know, it's a great tool that can help you kind of progress in your career. Your book, how do you start that process? Because all of these things you know, you want to put into practice, you obviously do put into practice, but then how do you get them into a book? How do you choose like the best things?
It's hard because Rhitrition was very unique in the sense I didn't go looking for a book deal. I had no idea I was going to write a book. Publishers approached me and they basically gave me free rein, which looking back was why it was such a success, because I was able to pour my heart and soul into it, but I had no structure. So it was kind of like, I think I'm going to do, like, I've got my food clinic, I want to do what it's going to help people. So I need to break down nutrition, do back to basics. And it took me a year to write that book because it was an intense process, writing so much science. You've got to do so much research. And I wanted it to be like a nutrition Bible. But now I'm currently writing other projects, which I can't say more than that, but it's exciting. But I have way more structure. So I've learnt that to write a book, you need monthly deadlines. I want to do X chapter. This is what's going to be in the chapters. You do the contents page first, and then you try and fill it. Whereas with Rhitrition, I was not that organized. I didn't know what order things were going to go in. So, You learn basically. And my method back then was like when I was at uni, just write as much as you can and then filter it down. And I ended up editing like 60,000 plus words, which was tough.
Wow, that is tough. That's amazing. Were you really proud of the outcome though?
It Renourish is my literally heart and soul in nutrition. I'm so proud of that book. I can't believe how many people it's reached, and it blows my mind that it's still, yeah, selling. It's really strange having a book. It's because I didn't know, I didn't know the power of having a book and what it could do for people. But I did, at the time, I didn't think books were popular. So Kindles had come out. It was at the time I was like, is anyone even going to want to read a nutrition book right now? Because surely people look on the internet if they want to cook a recipe, because I had to do 70 plus recipes.
Yeah.
And they did. So yeah, books are still out there.
Do you know, I think it's so funny. I know exactly what you mean. It's the same with like CDs, isn't it? It's like, why make a CD nowadays? Because everybody's just got, but you know what? I think lots of people still love a good hard copy. And the thing is with, like you say, with your book as well, it's got the recipes in it too. And I don't know, there's something, I don't know whether it's because, I mean, I'm not a big cook, but when we were younger, we used to cook with my grandma and then my mother. And then, so then it's like, you always used to get out a book. We didn't have anything else, So I think because now when I want to have something, I'm like, oh, I'll get the book out, rather than, because it's kind of like drilled into you, I guess. It's just, it becomes a habit, it becomes something that you do. So yeah, never underestimate the power of a good book.
Exactly.
Sure.
Go in better. Like, I don't know if I'm just old school. I used to write exams and stuff at school, whereas now they type everything, don't they? But I used to in my clinic and my practice, I'm one of those paper people. I was like, why aren't you on electronic? And when I write something down, it stays. When I type, for some reason, it doesn't stay up there in the same way.
I don't know whether it's the motion. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, and I just love. I mean, I've got all my questions. It's all book. Yeah, it has. For me, it has to be. It's the best way to get everything down, and also there's nothing better than going back and looking at your own writing. I love that.
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
It is. So do you have a go-to favorite snack or meal that you like to eat and prepare?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally changed this year because of time constraints as a parent. Like, I'm knackered, if I'm being honest. My clients, by the end of the day, tray bakes at the moment with everything. So one thing I can quickly do is chop a load of veg, shove it on the tray, olive oil, salt, and then I might put tofu pieces on, or salmon or fish halfway through. And then it just goes in the oven for an hour while I clean up, sort the day out when Jackie's in bed, and just get stuff done. And it's delicious. I love roasted veg. That's like the most simple thing. And then if I'm being organized, I might whip up there's one in Rhitrition, a sweet potato frittata or something. It's really easy, but I can have cold the next day or heat up. Snack-wise, I reach to the nutritionist for the odd cube of chocolate, not gonna lie. But if I'm being good, I love smoked hummus. It's like my new addiction.
Ooh.
New I don't know if you've tried the Marmite flatbreads, but if you like Marmite, you love them.
I love Marmite.
Me too. Yes. I'm a love girl, and that is exactly what I'm for. So Marmite flatbreads with smoked hummus is my favorite.
That sounds like such a good shout. That's the thing. I think like it's so funny. I always used to be like, no, don't snack. It's a bad thing. You have to eat your three, But when you're on the go, it's for me personally, it's just unrealistic. I can't go throughout the day. I can't do the whole 3 meal a day thing. And that's it. I just can't, because it will get to a point. When I'm teaching, particularly at the moment online, I'm teaching from say 2 o'clock in the afternoon till 8:30 at night. You took it. That's a long time not to eat, and you think, if I don't quickly grab a little snack in between, by 8:30, 9 o'clock when I finish, I'm ravenous, and the thing is, then I want to raid the cupboards, and that's the worst thing to do. So yeah, little snacks like that, I'm a sucker for. I love fruit, anything fruit wise. A fruit bowl for me is just like my idea of, and people always laugh, they always have done, and they're always like, you'd rather that over chocolate? And I'm like, actually I would. I mean, I'm rubbish for crisps. I love a good crisp, but actually fruit for me, I love it, any form, dried,
Yeah. You need
frozen,
to
everything.
add some protein to the fruit. So as a perfect snack, just to keep you going, maybe something like Greek yogurt, or even just a sprinkle of seeds or something over your fruit, or a banana with nut butter, like a teaspoon or two of nut butter, and that is the perfect snack combo.
Amazing. I do, what is it with, I have yogurt with fruit and
Yeah,
then like some like dried
granola.
oats.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, lovely.
And
Perfect.
it's like, but the thing is, when you're so hungry, that to keep you going, it works.
I
And
know.
it's so crazy, isn't it? Because people used to say it to me all the time, and I'd be like, "Pfft, you know, whatever." And then you try it, and you're like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah. I think
And
everybody's so different, aren't they? And the thing is, three
yeah,
meals may work for some, but your brain needs carbs and glucose and fuel to even concentrate. If you're online teaching, teaching is intense. I think even being online is quite draining because you're thinking all the
oh,
time
yeah,
about everything, how
yeah.
you're looking, what you're doing, where you're looking at on the screen, you're multitasking.
Yeah, all the time, all the time. And I think that fuel, like you were saying before, they're not eating. By the time you hit halfway through these students, you're teaching from age 6 right the way up to 16. You've got, it's bang, bang, bang. And it's, you finish at 5, you start at 5, you finish Habas, you start at Habas. That it's never ending. You have to like fit in a quick wee and a quick spoon of something, but you don't eat anything. I tried it, and by halfway through I felt awful, and you're not giving the attention to the kids that they deserve, that the service that you're proud of,
Well, you
and you
make
think,
poor choices as a result, I think. When people
yeah,
restrict or they unconsciously restrict, 'cause that's unconscious restriction is what we would call it, you end up just reaching for the fastest sources of fuel you can. And before you know it, you've probably eaten things that aren't as nourishing and not the best decision to make you feel good. So in my kind of world, I get empty calories, I get why it's there, but it's kind of a phrase that's kind of frowned upon in nutrition and dietetic terms.
okay,
They want you to see food as all food has a place. So
okay,
I get it, because I used to call it empty calories, and the same goes for good and bad food. So I get
okay,
why people would call chocolate bad food and a pear or an apple a good food. But
uh-huh,
actually, we want you to see all food in moderation, because the minute you start labeling food, they can
uh-huh,
become problem foods, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have that. And then it
hmm,
becomes a rule in your head. And when we have rules, this is where my emotional, the psychology training I did comes into
yeah,
play.
hmm,
If I hadn't have done that training, I wouldn't have had a clue basically with my clients. And
yeah.
it's fascinating. The language we use around food can evoke so many things for each individual in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say there, like you learn something new every time, you say that, because automatically, I know what you mean. Everyone will say it. Oh, don't eat that. That's a bad food. I
Yeah,
actually spoke to someone the other day, and I said to her, what would be your go-to snack? And she was like, well, if I was saying a good food, and it's funny,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just it's the language, isn't it? It's the lingo that you use. But actually, when somebody says to you, try not to look at it like that, try and look at it like this, it opens up your mind, and you think, oh my goodness, when I reach for that next time, let's not call it a good food, let's just say that that's the choice that I've made today, and that's
100%. And it's how we educate future generations. Because I think our generation, kind of growing up, like I always saw we had certain things like if you eat your main, you get dessert, or a
yeah,
reward, an ice cream, you get the ice cream van, something like that. Whereas if we educate future generations to not see food as a reward
yeah,
and to kind of see food differently, they're less likely to have the problems surrounding food and the relationships of food that all of us have because of the
yeah.
way we grew up, which isn't our parents' fault. It was just the way it was back then.
Exactly. And that's the thing, it's not about pinning blame, it's not about anything like that. It's just educating people. And that's the thing. Once you see that, it's just about people opening your eyes and going, actually, I'll just leave this little seed here. I'll just leave this little nugget of information, and then and that's perfect. That's brilliant. And we, the moment you open up to that, and you're happy for somebody to kind of like let somebody in, and then
Yeah,
them tell you things, it's like boom.
yeah, exactly.
So, if you had the opportunity to do anything else in the world, do you think you would try it, or are you just loving what you do?
I mean, the thing with my profession now is that every year I'm still studying, so I have to do continuing
Okay.
professional development. So I have to tick off at least 60 hours a year of extra study time. yeah, so I'm constantly learning more and more things to stay at the top of my profession and make sure I know what I'm talking about. So no, the only two things I ever really loved were food and music, and I feel very blessed to be able to experience both of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm quite content with that,
That's
really.
amazing. That's wonderful. And like you say, it's brilliant that although you didn't completely leave the music world, that you can still get in
Yeah.
there. That's awesome. That is
Yeah, it's still
amazing.
nerve-wracking, don't get me wrong. The more time you've had off the stage, like I don't do my vocal warm-ups every single day and stuff like I used to do. I am so out. And then when a gig comes along, I'm like, oh my God, I need to start getting my voice in shape again, get the diaphragm working, that kind of stuff that I better
Yeah.
do. Keep up hard in the room, get
That's
going
it.
again.
I know. The thing is, it is a scary, like, as an industry, it is quite a nerve-wracking one. It
Yeah,
is. And like you say, though, it's brilliant how it kind of set you up, confidence-wise and socially, for the job that you do now. I mean, that's wonderful.
like having to talk, 'cause part of my job is to give lectures and unis, or I talk to thousands of people at festivals and things. If I hadn't had that background, I mean, I can walk on stage and be excited about it. Everyone else is terrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, here we go, let's all give a talk, and it's great. But if you don't have the background, it is just so much harder. And I really feel for people with stage
Yeah.
fright and nerves because it's a killer for a job. It's really tough for people.
Yeah, really, really is, really is. So, do you have a bucket list of experiences, things that you would love to tick off, just in life in general, places that you want to see, things that you want to do, people you want to meet, or are you just the type of person to just kind of go with the flow?
I'm so go with the flow. It's like that. Do you have a 5-year business plan? Or yeah, the bucket list. I just never had any of that. And I think it served me well because my expectations are, if something good comes of it, then that's amazing. And if it doesn't,
Yeah,
then it's meant to be. So, I mean, now everything, since having my son, everything revolves around him in my head. So I don't really think about myself, if I'm being honest. I just kind of think I want him to be able to go on holiday again. I want him to be able to, well, he's never been anywhere but our house so far, thank
yeah. Oh
COVID.
my
So I
gosh, of course, yeah.
just want him to have all the experiences in the world that I couldn't have, I guess. I want him to travel to places I couldn't and see things. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I ask, really. It'd be nice.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as well, I think with the whole business plan thing, it always gets me so nervous when people ask me, so where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Some people say that that's a good, if you have this 5-year plan, it's a sign of a successful kind of mindset. But I disagree with that. I mean, my business has been totally successful without having a 5-year plan. And
Yeah.
there is no one size fits all with anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes, like you say, these opportunities can come in and all of a sudden you go, oh, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Or somebody approaches you and asks you to write a book and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, cool.
Why not? Go with it. Any opportunity. And you don't know who you're going to meet. And I think that's the biggest thing is you could take a job, as you know, the biggest thing is networking. You meet someone that may think of you for something else down the line. And it's the same in every industry. You have to network and just go with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, like you say, you meet friends for life. You meet people that, you find that you just love and enjoy their company, that you just click, you work really well with. Or you might meet somebody, you had a lovely time, never see them again,
Yeah.
or don't see them for a really long time, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, do you remember me 20 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think is so lovely. And when you're in a position, one thing I love being able to do is you're able to give back because you remember those people that were there for you, and one day you can be there for them too. And it's I guess the way the world goes around, isn't it? Hopefully.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my last question for you is kind of in a two-parter. Life in lockdown, how have you continued to be able to do your job and work and obviously have a very small baby and
No.
it's all
Yeah,
crazy.
you just described how it is. Oh, it's literally like this all the time. Like, what am I doing? I'm in my wardrobe now because this is my new office. Like, this is how it works. My husband's got the only room that would work as an office in the house.
Yeah,
I'm up here, and I've got a friend that's able to take my son out for a pram walk who lives around the corner. So whenever
yeah,
he goes out for maybe an hour or two a day on a pram walk, I do everything. I do the washing, I do the emails, I do whatever I can. I book
yeah.
podcast recordings when he's in bed in the evening. I think for me, it's just been, it was scary at first. I think last year when he was born, I thought, I don't know what's going to happen with my business. It might completely go under now. All my work stopped temporarily for a month or two. I had no income coming in. I was freaking out. I'd just given birth. I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Thankfully, even having the online presence I do, that kind of got me through, because I had to keep creating, I don't know, creating content to help others kind of helped me in a therapeutic way. So I guess it's so cheesy, but we are all in this together, that saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, because you you band together with people, because when you can't have that social interaction face to face, you yearn for it. You're like, right, where else can I get it? It's like a fix, isn't it? Where else can I get my friends, my that you need it. Like we said before about people, you very social creatures, and it's like you say, in order to help other people, they then helped you. And like it's amazing that you've managed to keep it going. Absolutely incredible, because it's so hard.
It's just when it's on you. So it's my responsibility to pay my team every month. It's my responsibility to keep work coming in, to pay them, to give them jobs, to create money for we'd moved house as well. So it's even worse, because our house fell through. So I was living, when I was heavily pregnant, in a spare room in a friend's house, with suitcases and everything all in one room. I was so big, my poor husband had to sleep on an airbed on the floor because there wasn't enough room in the small double bed for us both. And then we had found a temporary flat, and then COVID happened and lockdown, and then our house got postponed, and then I had to move with a baby that was 4 months old, and it was just manic. I'm so grateful, obviously, to have the opportunity, but then we had this mortgage and no income again, and I was like, oh my God, this is the worst timing in the world. But you know what? Things happen for a reason, and everybody has a story, and everyone's gone through horrendous times in the last year. And in a way, that's what also helps, knowing you're not alone.
Yes, exactly. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. You've all got your little stories to tell, and there's been heartache everywhere, and I think it's been awful. But the one of the big things that we'll learn kind of coming out of it is how strong we are, how resilient we are. You think, I just can't do another day of this. This is just, I just can't do it. And before you know it, it's been a week. Before you know it's been a month, and you're like, I have got through this. That's why I know lots of people don't enjoy doing it, but like journaling and stuff like that, for me, to see the progress, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm writing here. I just, and this, you're thinking, blimey, you're reading that's quite a low point here, Jen. This is really, but look, in a month now, look at what we're talking about. Look, you have got there.
You've achieved so much, and you're reaching out to people, and you're getting these interviews, and it's incredibly inspiring. And you didn't have to do that. So somehow you picked yourself up, and you're proactive, and you're doing things, and that's what's amazing, I think.
Yeah, I think you're so right, in as much as, people need people. And, the moment something happens to you, you're like, I just need to, I need to reach out and see who I can find and who I can chat to. And on that note, thank you so much for chatting with me. I've had a wonderful time. It's been amazing to chat to you, meet you, hear all about your work and the success that you've had, and long may it continue. Honestly, I think you're doing an amazing job. And yeah, it's been wonderful. I've loved chatting.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and honestly, just huge respect back to you. And my fingers and toes across everything for all industries to be back up and running and do your thing. And it's coming. It is coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, for sure. It is 2021. Let it be the year. I know we've all gone through so much, though, and I think, like you say, we're really strong people, and we will get there for sure. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Sending my best wishes to you. Bye. Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, Rhiannon, for such a fantastic chat. It was so lovely to hear all about your work and everything that you do, and I'm sending you all my very best wishes. It's so wonderful to chat to all of these incredible people. I feel so blessed and so lucky that people would love to come on and chat with me on my little channel. And to you guys for watching, I hope you enjoyed that. It's brilliant to get to know lots of different types of people and hear about everybody's stories. The sun is shining bright. It is a beautiful day, and we are in spring. hence the floral. I thought I'd get it in there. Sending my best wishes to you, everybody, and take care. And don't forget to tune in next time for another brilliant guest. Keep your requests coming. Lots of love. Bye.